Hey, what's up? Welcome back to ArchiHacks. Today I'll be reviewing my own portfolio that got me into both OMA and BIG. I'll walk you through each page, focusing on presentation and layout techniques that you can use in your own work. So make sure to stick around and let's get into it. So this portfolio is available in the link below, so you can look at it at your own pace. So this is the cover of the portfolio. I just left it super minimal, only telling you essential information. And the first spread. So on the left, there's a quick profile just to be a little bit more friendly. And on the right side, there's my resume. At this point, I've only had one internship, but I try to place as many relevant experience as possible. But one thing I wanted to emphasize throughout my whole portfolio was that I do a lot of extracurricular activities. So I've dedicated a large portion of my resume to my achievements. And this doesn't have to be the case for you. Maybe your experience is the biggest priority, or maybe your academic achievement, or it could be your diverse skill set. So just take this as a grain of salt. And there are various techniques that I'll be going through in this portfolio that could be applicable in emphasizing your strong suit. So the second page is a table of contents that kind of lays out where each project is coming from. So again, I wanted to emphasize how many projects I've done, so I've listed them all out here, but I've also highlighted the ones that will be shown in this portfolio like this. And next, I had a previous devotion into cinematography, so I get a lot of inspiration from movies, and I wanted the beginning of each project to look like a movie poster. So I'm using a full screen, no blank spaces at the edge, and a lot of white spaces and some subtle texts that kind of give you the cinematic feeling that I think was important. And I like to start off portfolio with the most interesting project that kind of starts off with a bang. And this is by far probably the most outrageous projects, and I wanted to use this to kind of capture the attention. So that is a part of a bigger narrative that you should be thinking about. Sort of like an essay where you want to hook in your reader. Your portfolio is really no different. So think about the strategy to bring them in and then keep them in there somehow. So it starts off with a simple explanatory diagram, a little bit of section. It's quite straightforward. It's only 3 pages long and it's mostly based on renders and drawings. The second project, again, starts with a full bleed. It mostly follows with the same pattern. And I'll be covering how I came up with this image in more detail in a future video, so make sure to stay tuned for that. So in each page, I want to bring full emphasis into one element at a time. So despite what we would like to have, you need to understand that the readers or your employer might have limited attention. So it is important that you make the presentation as easy to read as possible. And that is why I either have one main content per page or one main content for the spread. And it kind of trickles down from here. So for example, this spread, I'm putting a lot of emphasis on the background research that we've done. And then the second part is our design motivations. And following up in the second part, I'm diving slightly deeper into the design of the building. So as you can see, this sectional perspective takes up the most amount of space because I want this to be the main image. And the supporting images are placed in a smaller section in a smaller font and smaller images to kind of support that. And this tends to create a visually pleasing as well as easy to understand presentation layout. All right, coming to the next page. I'm utilizing a vertical spacing this time. Again, I'm using this full bleed rendering on the right side to kind of put a solid end to the project. And on the left side, you can kind of see the hierarchy between what is the most important, second most important, and then third most important in a large section, divided by color, and then breaks down into subsections from there on. So your readers will know exactly how to get into to find out the kind of information that they're looking for. And all the projects so far, they're actually all competition projects. And again, I'm emphasizing the fact that I'm doing a lot outside of school. And this actually came up during their interview and ended up becoming one of the suits that kind of made me stand out. And again, this doesn't have to be a competition. You can have anything else as your strong suit and try to find creative ways to kind of bring that up again and again and try to drive that home. And one thing I noticed about my projects so far is that I don't have a lot of physical models. And I'm actually using my rendering abilities to simulate model looks like this one. I'll be linking a video on the top right corner about how you can use render engines to create physical models like that. And moving onwards, and on this spread, I wanted to focus solely on orthographic drawings. That's why this whole page is dedicated to that. And as you can imagine, when the person who's reviewing my application lands on this page, the only thing they can think about is how excellent this candidate is at line drawing. And moving onwards, similarly, this page is focusing solely on rendering. If there's any drawings in particular that you would like me to cover, make sure to leave it in the comments and I'll be making follow-up videos on that. And last but not least, I had one internship at this point, so I wanted to dedicate a section for that. Coincidentally, I worked on one of the OMA projects, and I think this ended up helping me get a job there in the future. So if you are working at an architecture office that is execution architect for bigger offices that you would like to get into, try to see if you can help with that project and kind of get a sense of what kind of pace and intensity that they work at. And this will give you a good sense of how you can prepare for your future internships. And that is the end of my portfolio. I've reviewed other portfolios by students at Harvard and Waterloo, so make sure to check those out if you're interested. If you would like me to review your portfolio, feel free to drop me a link. Last but not least, portfolio wasn't the only factor in play. I'll be explaining how to maximize your chances of landing a dream internship in the future videos, so stay tuned.